So here's a movie to BitButter and to Everett's vlog. I'm going to try to address some of the questions they've raised about causation and Mereology and when could we say that one thing is the cause of another and all this kind of stuff, right? So here it goes. Before I do so, I'd like to talk a little bit about theories of causation, though, and under what conditions we attribute causality to things and under what conditions we don't attribute causality to things, because it's an interesting issue and it's tripped up logicians for a long time. Um, So, as a point of departure, try this theory on for size, okay? So, my bookshelf tends to have groups of similar topics grouped together. And so, what could be the explanation for this, okay? How about we try a causal explanation? Here's the explanation, okay? The books on the bookshelf tend to clump together because one book causes the next book. It's the cause of the next book. And then that book is the cause of the next book. And that it's like a causal chain. So as you're panning down my library here, it's just a causal chain. This book causes the next book, causes the next book. Okay, let me actually just go ahead and do that and show you how it works. In the beginning, the bookshelf was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And then the first cause appears, and this book caused the next book to appear, which caused the next book to appear. All these books are caused by the same book in a continual causal chain. We know they're caused by the same book because they're all about the same topic, and by induction we can tell that the next book is also going to be about causation. But wait! Oops! What's this? We've had a mass extinction. The next book is not about causation. The next book is about Wittgenstein, which causes another book about Wittgenstein, which causes another book about Wittgenstein, which causes another book about Wittgenstein. Okay, you probably don't like this causal explanation of why the books on my shelf are all clumped together, right? And if pressed to, if you're going to press an objection against me, one of the things you'd probably say is, look, there's no causation here because nothing's happening, okay? The books are just on the shelf, okay? One book isn't causing the next book to be on the shelf. They're just in the state of being on your shelf, right? And it's true, okay? In order to represent something as a cause, or in order to conceive of something as a cause, it seems like something has to be happening. There has to be something that's taking place. Uh, so, in other words, basically what I'm saying is that states are typically not, in most theories of causation today, states do not have causal powers. States are not represented as being the cause of something else that's happening. It's usually what is usually, a cause. What usually is depicted as a cause is something called an event. An event is usually depicted as a change of state. Okay, so basically, a better causal explanation for why the books are on the bookshelf is because I put them there in that order, right? And involves a change of state. The book was in one location before the bookstore, and then I changed its state. I put it on my bookshelf in a particular spot. So, so this is basically the ontology of the language of causation. You have a couple of different things. You have states, which are things that are okay, the book is on the bookshelf, and you have events, or things which happen, okay, the book is placed on the bookshelf. And usually if events are, in terms of what happens, usually events, if you represent an event as a cause, it depends on change of state. It induces some change of state, basically. So, and that can induce another change of state and all this kind of stuff. So basically that's how it goes. So, um, you know, it's actually a lot trickier than it looks to formulate a correct theory about causation. The AI types tried to do it back in 1963, about 3 years before I was born, was the first theory, and it suffered from a horrible catastrophe called the frame problem. I don't have time to go into it, but I may make a video on it in the future because it's an excellent case study of how long it takes to solve things sometimes. The frame problem was only just solved about 10 years ago. Here's one book which presents we actually got two solutions to the frame problem. Here's a book which presents one, Knowledge and Action by Raymond Ryder. Raymond Ryder worked on this problem for 30 years, and he solved it, and he wrote a book about it, and then he died because of cigarette cancer. Cigarette smoking caused lung cancer. So that's the fate. He did, however, finish his book before he did it. Okay, and basically that's how he makes it work is a very interesting story. I don't have time to get into it, but basically that's how it is. Okay, in order to be a cause, it has to be something that happens. It can't just be this static thing that whereas nothing is changing. There has to be action there. There has to be movement in order for something to be a cause. All right. So let's take this basic understanding and apply it to BitButter's cases and apply it to Everett's cases. So would it be the state of the neuron which caused the election, or would it be the change in the state which causes the election? Well, according to the previous analysis, it would be the change in the state which is the cause, right? So now let's talk about Mereology for a little bit. No, Mereology isn't the science of being merry, right? It's the theory of parts and wholes, right? So let's talk about how this all conflates together here. Okay, if a whole is composed of several parts, its global state is going to be a function of the states of the parts, right? So this is our non-deterministic neuron, right? And it has its own state. But this neuron is a part of a whole brain and part of a whole self, right? So the a change in the state of the neuron implies a change in the state of the whole. So now I would be very comfortable saying the change in the state of the whole is what is causing this election, as well as the change of the state in the neuron. Just because of, if part of me changes state, then my whole also changes state. So, but does this hold generally, right? I'll just put two examples on the board here, right? If my car's bumper dents your car, did my car dent your car? If a rogue trader at a bank embezzles $1 billion, did the bank embezzle $1 billion? How much responsibility accrues to peers or management? Well, intuitions can vary on this point. I think BitButter has some wiggle room to reason here, but let me give my my reasons why I don't find his argument convincing, I guess. So here, let's put on the board his argument here. He says first causes are not caused, and the self is caused. Therefore, the self is not a first cause. This is a valid argument as far as it goes. What I would just point out, though, is the self is not a unitary thing. The self is composed of many different parts. So I would amend it like this. I would say, first causes are not caused. Yeah, I'd go along with that. I would say parts of the self are caused. Parts of the self are first causes of the other parts. And I would say the self is continually recreating itself this way, right? Let me just draw some connections here with some other philosophers. Kierkegaard says, the self is a relation that relates itself to itself. And Heidegger takes this over in Being and Time. He says, Dasein is an entity which, in its very being, comports itself understandingly towards that being. And, even more recently, Hofstadter, I am a strange loop. It's like, it seems like there's a convergence on this idea of the self as being the self-reflective, self-changing, self-causing, self-creating kind of a thing. So anyway, that's my answer. See what you think, guys.